All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be talking to an individual ahead of a big card, New Era Fighting, the inaugural event. It goes September 20th, Centre Pierre-Charbonneau, and that is in Montreal, Quebec. And I am talking to matchmaker and director of logistics for New Era Fighting, Vincent Morin. How's your day going so far, man?
Good, and you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I was just kind of curious, though, like I mentioned, this being the inaugural event. When did all the dialogue for starting this promotion kind of get going and really pick up that traction?
Yeah, we're excited for this one. We have so far it's like nine boxing fights, two MMA fights, and one special exhibition fight between Hugo Girard and Patrick Cote. So this one is kind of a special one because it's an exhibition. It's for raising money for the kids, and it's called Alter Go. It's for the kids with the disabilities. So they make sports, so it helps them. It's a big event for people with the disabilities. So we raise money for them, and the fight is between a former world champion it was the World Strongman Challenge in 2002. Hugo Girard was known like the strongest man in the world in 2002 against Patrick the Predator Cote, was 21 fights in the UFC. So this one should be a barn burner. And Hugo is like 330 pounds of pure muscle, man. It's gonna be it's gonna be special to see him with boxing gloves.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a fight that absolutely stood out to me. I'm kind of curious, like, when did the idea first come about to put that fight together, and like, how did you, I guess, like, get both parties to kind of agree to it? Was it like a charity-minded kind of an initiative? Were they both kind of curious with the matchup? Like, what was it?
Yeah, it was charity minded. Hugo Girard, yeah, he's on TV. In the French community in Quebec. He's like a hero. He's a legend here. So people are used to see him on TV. He has like 3 or 4 shows where he travels the world and he cooks thing, and he goes in the rough neighborhoods of USA, and so people are used to see him on TV. But he didn't perform as a sportsman since a while, but most of the people don't know he owns a gym too, so he trains every day. So the guy, he's 47, but he stayed in shape, and he's bulk, and he started to develop a passion for boxing. So he started boxing a couple of months ago, and he's learning fast. So he wanted to do something for charity, and originally he was supposed to fight former NHL enforcer George Larac. So, but finally we talked with Patrick Cote, and Cote now he's a TV guy too. So he's an analyst for RDS, the French TSM. So it was a natural thing to do. And Patrick, he did one pro boxing fight too. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna go out of my retirement for one fight. Let's do that for the kids. And quite frankly, it was easy to do. And both guys are genuine good guys. Both guys, they're known in the French community. They're known. Patrick Cote is known all over the world. Hugo was known all over the world when he was doing strongman competition. So this one's going to be fun. I think it's for charity. So you have one guy with skills, with with a good right hand, and you have a huge guy. Most people never saw with boxing gloves. So it's kind of intriguing to see a guy that huge trying to throw some amateurs in a boxing ring.
Yeah, for sure. And I understand you were getting a little bit of pad work going on with Hugo Girard there. It's like, and I think you were saying he's not only strong as a rhino, but is constantly improving. So he's very much taking this seriously too.
Oh yeah, he trained like 5 weeks, 5 days a week in boxing, but he's always running. I know a guy this big running. Yeah, he does his cardio, he does some weight, and yeah, I've been working with him for like 8 weeks now, and he's been sparring pro fighters because most of the guys he sparred with amateur fighters, but his power is so reckless that with just a jab he can knock a guy out. So like my shoulders are really sore from those bad sessions. Yeah, so his jab is like pretty much like a right hand from a 250-pound guy, and his jab only his jab. So when I work on the body shots, I have to take the body pad to take those shots because like his hand is like big like my head, man. It's awesome. We have to make like those gloves from the rival company, rival boxing. They have to make special gloves because the X large doesn't fit the guy. So like it's a guy that huge. So of course he has big power. So Pat is gonna be careful. So it's gonna be experience against pure power.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a very compelling fight for sure. But we're talking about big lads getting in there. We're talking about MMA fighters crossing over into the boxing realm. Adam Deitzka, also a fun microcosm of that. He's got a fight coming up in the pro boxing ranks as well, and we haven't seen him for a little while. So can you talk about that fight a little bit too?
Yeah, Adam started to work in boxing here. We saw it at the gym. He's training mostly with a former amateur Canadian champion named Alexis Barrière. He was a really, really special kid. He was on the national Canadian team. He traveled all over the world, 6'4", southpaw, and he wanted to try boxing. So we decided to make him turn pro in boxing because if you look at his record, officially 7-2 is supposed to be 8-1 because he got disqualified for banned substance, but all his fights were always KOs, and with his big right hand. So he was mostly a striker. So like just to make him box was easy because in his fight he was boxing mostly. So the transition was easy to make. So he's still gonna fight in MMA too, but we wanted to see what he can do in boxing, and we found a decent opponent for our first fight. A guy who was a K1 fighter. I think he's 7-2 in K1, and he's 1-0 in MMA. And his name is Mikol Lukacic from Slovakia. His record is 2-2 with 1 draw and 2 KOs. Big 6'4" guy. So a guy with already 5 pro fights in boxing. Guys like Adam, who comes from MMA and K1. So I think it's going to be a barn burner. You have a 6'2", 260-pound guy against a 6'4", 250-pound guy. So the boxing experience is on the Lukacic side, but I think the power is on the Adam side. So I think this one's going to be a barn burner. It's a 4-round fight. I don't think we'll see the 4-rounder in this one, but it's going to be a firecracker for while it lasts.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is quite a interesting, mixture of bouts on this card and stuff like that. I'm also noticing the 160-pound Canadian title is going to be at stake with Francis Lafreniere taking on Frank Bruno Catroni. So can you talk about that fight too? Because that's another high-stakes one with some pretty significant hardware up for grabs.
This one's fun because it's a rematch. When they fought early in their career, I think it was 4th or 5th fight of Francis Lafreniere. In the first fight, Catroni won. He dropped Lafreniere, and it was probably the best fight on the Canadian scene, on the local scene that year. So it was 2012. So this one, 7 years later, is even more compelling because it's not going to be a 4-rounder, it's going to be a 10-rounder fight. So we expect fireworks. Both guys are really, really offensive. They're not known for their defensive, and they have guys have a couple of losses. You see Catroni's record, it doesn't look impressive because he's 12-11 with 1 draw and 6 KO. Francis is 19-7-2 with 10 KOs. Like, decent record, nothing impressive, but those guys, they have fought everybody. They fought the best of the best, and that's what you want to see. On the Canadian side at 160 pounds, they're the top local guys. So, and local fights, it sells. And you have passion, you have guys, that don't want to lose against the other local guy. You don't want to go the next morning, take your coffee at the restaurant and look at newspaper as a loser, and people just point at you. So, local fights, you have a special pride. There's a little extra something with that, and that's why I think this fight is like a natural for the return of the local boxing.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the local guys and stuff like that. I mean, it seems like there's that local presence with the Abed Al Safadi fight versus Dwayne Durrell, and it seems like there's some other local guys on the undercard who I imagine will impress. Who else should fans be keeping their eye on in terms of a local fighter who's looking to make their name?
You said it. El Safadi against Durrell is a great fight because El Safadi was a Quebec champion in the amateur, 40 amateur fight. He has only 2 pro boxing fights, but Dwayne is the opposite. He has 9 pro fights, 6-3, but he has barely 1 amateur fight, and he comes from kickboxing. So total opposite style. So it's going to be really a good fight. Fast guys, 143 pounds for this one. On the local undercard, you have Kevin Menoche and Rudy Rene. Clash of style again. Menoche is 3-0 with 3 KOs, pure puncher, and you have Rudy Rene who's 1-5 and 1. You say, okay, but the record is not that bad. Yeah, on his only win, he beat North American champion Shaquille Finn. He fought against Stephen Butler, a slick southpaw. So I think this one's going to be between a classic fight between a puncher and a pure boxer. So this one's going to be fun. And on the local scene, probably the best fight of the night will be for me Jean-Michel Poulain against Danick Grotto. This one is going to be amazing. Poulain, on the last New Era show, he won the final fight. He won by KO against Jean-Michel Bolivar. He's a southpaw. The guy was Canadian national champion in the amateur. Good puncher, 6-1 with 2 draws. Against Danick Grotto, who's a former military. This guy, his nickname is the Kamikaze, and it's because he wins or loses by KO. You know, he swings. He's a crazy madman, and he's tall for 160, 6 feet. He's five victories, 2 losses, and 3 KOs. And each time he falls, you know, it's either a big KO, it's the or it's the fight of the night. So I think this one it's scheduled for 6 rounders. Should be a barn burner. And we have another local fight. Another clash of styles. You have Alexandre Robert who's making his pro debut, guy from Repentigny. He fought mostly as a heavyweight, but this fight's going to be in the cruiserweight division. It was like a stellar, one of the main guys that you saw in the Quebec scene in the amateur boxing. We had 37 amateur fights. He's fighting against Tom Vautour from New Brunswick. This guy, maybe 5 amateur fights, but he has the 7th pro fight. So you have a guy with experience in amateur boxing against a guy with experience in pro boxing. So this one is scheduled for 4 rounds. 2 big punchers. So again, we don't know what to expect on that fight. It's going to be maybe the power of Vautour against the fast and speed of Robert. So flip of coin on that one. You know, I wouldn't bet on either of those local fights right now.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so fun. But, you know, talking about, like, the pro MMA side of things, I see Adam Hazelton versus Michael Dufort as, like, one of the big listed fights there on Top MMA News, and that going at 155 pounds. And also I'm seeing Corinne Laframboise is fighting Dee Begley, and that's a good look, too. You know, a 7-3 amateur record in MMA, 4-1 in Thai boxing, and, yeah, getting that bronze medal at the World Championship for Waco kickboxing there and everything. So can you break down a couple of those fights there? Because I'm very intrigued by those as well.
Yeah, this fight is pretty competing because Corinne Laframboise, before being an MMA fighter, she was a jiu-jitsu champion. She was winning every tournament she attended. She medaled everywhere. And against Dee Begley, she's a kickboxing champion. So she went to the World Championship, like you said. She won a bronze in the World Championship 2018 in an MMA competition too. So she medaled at the Waco. Waco is the biggest kickboxing competition in the world. So she medaled there. She medaled at the amateur World Championship in MMA. She's 7-3 in amateur MMA. So no, she doesn't have no pro MMA fights, but she's really, really experienced. Corinne, she has 6 pro MMA fights, but she's mostly experienced in jiu-jitsu. She's been working on her boxing with Coach Howard Grant, but her specialty is really on the ground. So it's going to be a fight between a striker and a grappler. So I think this one's another good clash of style. Quite frankly, if the fight stays up, Begley is going to have the advantage. But if Corinne is able to bring her down, it's going to be Corinne's fight. And what's fun, Dee Begley, she's coming from the same gym as Conor McGregor. So then this one is kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, she's coming from a great school, you know, with Kavanagh. And so, of course, those fighters, they come to fight, and usually they have, like, great stand-up game. So I expect a good performance from her part. And the semifinal of the night is going to be Michael Dufort. The opponent changed, though. Adam Hazelton had an injury. So we found a tough guy. His name is Miguel Arismendi. His nickname is El Gallo. It's the cock. So he's coming from Mexico City. Never been KO, never been submitted. He's 7-2. He's a big, strong guy, huge for 155 pounds. He was mostly a welterweight, 170, and the guy is strong, and he's a puncher. So Michael's gonna face another tough guy. In his last fight, he did a crazy fight against Jesse Ronson. He did 5 rounds. He gained a ton of experience, and now he's fighting another brawler, a good striker. So let's see what Michael can do. But I know when the fight's going to be on the ground, it's going to be over. So Michael is such a machine. That's his nickname, the machine. But he's such a machine on the ground. Now I want to know what he can do when the fight is standing. And don't forget, those fights are in the ring. They're not in the cage. So the ring is really, really smaller than the cage. Usually, when you see in the UFC, it's 32 by 32 the cage. So you have a lot of movement to just settle around. If you're tired, you take a walk. In a small ring like that, you're always in the face of your opponent. Usually the ring is like 16 by 16 or 20 by 20. So it's kind of a different game plan. You're always in the face of your opponent. So you either shoot fast or you throw punches. So it's a different game. And it's more difficult too to put some some submission when you're near the ropes, and there's a kind of complicated stuff for grapplers. But still, it's a fun fight, but it's a different fight in a ring than it is in the cage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also was noticing that Jan Pellerin has some degree of affiliation with the promotion, and I also saw some contracts with certain guys like Joe Valli and certain guys like that. And I'm not really noticing specific matchups for them on this card. Like I saw for Pellerin, there was a to-be-announced thing on Top MMA News. Are you saving maybe some of those talents for a future New Era show and then have them on those subsequent cards?
Yeah, but Jan's going to be fighting. Yeah, I know he's kind of busy promoting, but he's still trained. We didn't secure an opponent in MMA. He has 24 fights. It's kind of difficult to find guys experienced guy like him. So he's gonna fight in boxing. We're gonna secure an opponent today. So we have a couple of choice of guys. But Jan's gonna fight in boxing. It's kind of difficult for him to put together like a promotion and training. It's difficult because there's a lot of stuff to do. So he's concentrating on boxing because if you train in MMA, you know how it is. You have to focus on striking, then on wrestling, then on the ground. It's complicated and it's complex. Mainly in boxing, you focus on your hands only. It's a little less complicated when you do preparation, and when you do like a promotion like that, you need to be 100% focused. So Jan's gonna fight in boxing on that show. And like I said, there's a fight I didn't talk about too that's going to be really, really interesting. There's a kid we just signed. His name is Hamza Kabaz. He was Canadian champion in Bellator 2 times. He's only 20 years old. He's a firecracker. He's going to fight against a Mexican named Roberto Gonzalez Robledo. This Mexican is 3-1 with 2 KOs. It's only his second pro fight, Hamza, but in Bellator he beat up everybody. This kid, watch out for him because he's fast. He's like a looky-look. You don't know when he's firing. You don't know where it comes from, and it's fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And he got that big win in Edmonton in his first professional fight. I'm talking about Hamza, so that should be an interesting one for sure.
Exactly. But in the amateur scene, like I said, actually the guy from the Canadian team that is in the World Championship. His name I don't remember his name right now, but he got his ass kicked by Hamza. And Hamza, he beat like most of the guys you see turning pro, Mazda McDonald's, but Hamza beat them in the amateur. So like he was the man to beat at 152 pounds, and now in the pro we dropped him to 147. So it's going to be a welterweight, and he's a big welterweight. And like I said, he has so much talent. So only 20-year-old. So we're going to build him slowly, but let's just don't blink in this fight. Just don't blink. This kid's going to be fast, and you're gonna see something special that night with him in the ring.
Yeah, this is an amazing card, and I'm really looking forward to it. But that leads me to inquire about future cards. Like, I'm wondering, is the future going to be doing these, like, mixed kind of shows where there's, like, boxing, MMA, maybe some other martial arts disciplines getting into the picture? Are future shows going to be maybe focusing on, like, a specific discipline and kind of going with that? Like, what's the future for New Era?
So far, it's the second show we do with New Era. You saw in the first show we had only one MMA fight. It was Alex Boley. He was supposed to fight on the card, but he got injured. But most of the cards we're going to do, we're going to split with boxing and MMA. But we're going to see more and more MMA fights on the card. So because of some injuries, and it was kind of complicated, we only have 2 MMA fights on this one. But on the next one, we might secure 4 or 5 each time. So the best for us right now is to do like a mixed card of 5 boxing bouts and 5 MMA fights. For us, it's kind of, we have like the best of both worlds doing that, and we have 2 different crowds too. So for us, I think it's a winning situation to have both sports, because those 2 sports are popular. Maybe we'll add kickboxing. I don't know. That's a thing we talked about. But so far, the 2 main sports that are really popular here in Eastern Canada are mostly boxing and MMA. And I think having those 2 sports on the same card is winning for everybody, and you have a great show. You have everything you want to see in a fight night with those two sports.
I totally agree with that, and I'm very much excited for this card coming up. You've been great with your time, man. Is there anything you want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, though?
Yeah, make sure to assist on that card. It's September 20 at the Centre Pierre-Charbonneau Center. That place is amazing. That place, wherever you are in the arena, you see the action perfectly. Like, that's the perfect place to see a fight night. I've been there a couple of times to boxing shows, and it's been amazing. I'm a retired fighter. If I wanted to do a last fight, I wanted it to be there, man, in that place. So make sure to not miss it. And we're going to do a press conference, and we're going to do a public training, too. It's going to be Tuesday at Hugo Gym in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. So if you want to assist and see the fighters, you want to see the Lafrenière, Cotroni, Hugo Girard, Michael Dufort, you're going to see Patrick Côté, they're all going to be there. So everybody's welcome.
Yeah, man, I mean, it's got a big event feel, and as a combat sports fan, I always like seeing new promotions and interesting initiatives kind of pop up in that regard, but absolutely, people should be getting their tickets and checking out the show on September 20th in Montreal, Quebec. New Era going to be putting on a killer card, and just again, really appreciate the time, Vincent. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, man, and best of luck with the rest of the preparations for this card.
Thank you.